mute all. Okay, Zach, I think you're good to go.
Okay, thanks, Carla. All right,
And Jim should be good to go, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Welcome, everybody, to our first conference call of the new year, January 2021. For those of you that listened into day 2 or 3, I'm drawing a blank right now, of our annual meeting, we had Marty Whitsitt and Jim Seiler on for a little bit. Marty Whitsitt is a district manager for us from Southern Indiana, and Jim Seiler is one of his customers. Jim Seiler grows peaches as well as a few other things. I'll let him go into more detail on that. To start the call, our Director of Research, Jim Hallbeisen, is going to start us off with some current events. And then, Lord willing, we will get into with Marty Whitsitt and Jim Seiler. They have quite an interesting story. So, Jim, if you want to take it away, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, thanks, Zach. This portion of the conference call, we usually get into the current events, and current events right now are commodity prices, but there's a few other things that we're going to talk about before we get started on that. The executive committee from Growers Mineral Corp has made a few decisions on the sales letter, or what we now call the educational solution, and we're also making some changes with the conference call. The grower solution, the publication with the various things on research and customer testimonials, that will basically stay the same. That comes out 5 times a year. Usually you have a winter, spring, summer, early fall, and late fall edition, and the timings on that will stay pretty much as they've been in the past. Now, for the sales force, salesmen, district managers, the old sales letter, which we now call the educational solution, that is going to be reduced. That was a monthly publication. The executive committee has now made the decision to turn it into a quarterly publication, so that you will only get 4 for the year. You've already received your January edition, which had some details in it about sales, and then a summary of the annual meeting. And the next edition probably will show up sometime late February, early March, and then decision will be made next fall. There probably will not be an educational solution during the summer. Usually guys are busy, they have little time to read. Then we'll pick again up in the fall prior to the sales season, and then prior to the annual meeting. And depending on what happens with the COVID situation, the decision on whether to have an in-person annual meeting again, or if we're going to be under some kind of restriction, depending on, what the various states decide. So for your own information in the sales force, the educational solution, when we start out with the new sales season, probably will be distributing your discount sheet for the total season at that point. So again, it's very critical for guys to make sure that they understand what's in their solution, so they know what they need to hang on to for a while. And then as far as the conference call is concerned, the numbers that we are looking at, and we've been looking at this for a fair period of time. We've had the call for a number of years, and our summer response has been, a lot weaker than it is this time. Dwindle. Guys are busy. They're tired. They want to have supper. They can't keep their ears open or their eyes open for the later calls. So what the plan is at this point is to discontinue the conference call May through August. Your calendar will say that there will be a conference call, but that will be changed. That notification will come to you in your next educational solution, plus the next grower solution, which will come out probably in the middle of February. We'll also make that announcement. And then May, June, July, and August, the call will be discontinued. And then we will pick it up again starting in September, which is prior to our next sales season. Now, this spring, we're going to continue the call just as we are right now for February, March, and April. And for at least February and March, we will keep the same number and the same service. We are considering going to using the Zoom, which we used for the annual meeting for our conference call, because that will allow better access for Canadian customers. There's a few things that we have to make sure that Zoom will offer, like a recording, and the access will be, we want the access number to stay the same, so as it has with the service we have now. So that will be decided here in the next couple months, and when your educational solution comes out, we may know the answer at that point, and we will discuss if we will go to a Zoom call. The possibility of it being listed in the next grower solution is also a possibility. It just depends on how soon we can get access to what we actually need for the conference call to be done in a way that it's being done now, so that you have a recording access and that the numbers stay, the access numbers or access codes stay the same. So once we establish it, you can go back into old solutions or old sales letters to find out what those numbers are. So that's basically the plan at this point. When we decide when our fall educational solutions will come out, you'll get those in the mail, and probably after the next one, which will come at the end of February, early March, the next one you'll receive will be for your pricing for next season. So that way we cut down on the amount of paperwork. Hopefully we can give you the kind of reading that is interested to you, so that it's something you'll look forward to, and the information is something that will be, usable to you. But as far as the customers are concerned, the grower solution will stay the same. We plan no changes with that. Timing on that will stay basically the same as it is, or has been for quite some time now. So to get back to the current events, I think it's commodity prices, hands down. We're getting a tremendous number of calls into the office, customers wondering, where we think this thing is going, what other parts of the country are telling them, and trying to figure out why we had this tremendous run that all the experts basically missed. So again, this is something that I think everybody is interested in. And so the advisors that I'm listening to or follow to a certain degree, they're saying that this is a lot of outside money coming into the market. The derecho that we had in Iowa, the dry weather that we had across the belt. And I would say, I talked to several southern farmers today, and they're a little on the wet side. And then along the East Coast, Dennis Grove and the Delmarva, they've been very wet. But the rest of the country has been toward the dry side. Some areas have been very dry. And so, again, this has played into the speculative nature, of the investment money. They're guessing that we might have a possibility of dryness this year. Brazil, Argentina, they're not desperate for water, but they're saying they are on the low side. So again, the demand has been pretty phenomenal for soybeans particularly, but we're seeing this demand for corn now The ethanol market is struggling tremendously. It's pretty amazing to see, corn prices this high with the amount of problem we're having with the ethanol industry. So again, there's a lot of concern by farmers that this thing could deflate fairly quickly. Right now, there's no indication of that, but that really doesn't mean anything because nobody saw it coming. Saw any kind of run up like this. Nobody was talking about it whatsoever. We had the initial run into the mid $4 range. There were a few fringe guys talking about $5, but nobody had any consensus on that. So it's been a rocket ship basically up to this point. And most of the questions that I'm getting now is how much farther can this thing go? And really that's all speculative. Nobody really knows how far it can go. So again, this is part of the marketing aspect, and it's going to affect all markets. Whether it's livestock, fruit and vegetables, the same way. These guys are going to have to ante up a little bit to get the fruit and vegetable guys to continue to go through the hassles of producing for them. So says that tide raises all ships. So we'll see basically where that goes and how long it lasts. There's a couple articles that have appeared in the popular ag press that will be discussed in your next grower solution. The initial one was research work done at North Dakota State University where they showed through test plots that excessively high levels of application of OO60 was causing yield reduction in corn. Also, Purdue University had some research that had the same type of result with soybeans. And again, there was quite a bit of discussion about what this is all about because it was thought that if you get excess potassium, the plant will not absorb it, or if it does, it'll just lodge it in the tissue, and why you would get any kind of yield reduction. Well, at Growers Mineral Corp, we would talk about the chloride that associates with potassium in OO60 and its influence on the biological population in the soil. And so as we see and hear more about the life force in soil with the cover cropping issues, and the establishment is trying to embrace that, it's pretty amazing that they can't figure out why these high levels of OO60 are giving some guys problems. And so again, they establish levels that are what they consider safe, but they're significantly below what some of the states are recommending on OO60. Now, the article said that they have reduced some of their recommendations, but that's only in a few states. Some of the other states that are next to where these plots are held are still holding those higher levels of OO60. So again, this is something that we've discussed for a long period of time. We think that will continue to be an issue. Another article that we will discuss in the next grower solution is some work that was published by DTN where they're talking about in-furrow application of fertilizer for soybeans. Again, this is something that growers has discussed for a long period of time. In the old days, guys were planting corn early, and then everybody was using their corn planter, to plant soybeans. And so a lot of guys that were using growers on corn, they diluted it down and planted their beans too to give them a little bit of help early on. And as we've gotten away from using, the same planter to plant corn and beans, they've gone to these specialty planters for soybeans. They went to the drill first, and now they've got in-tight row units basically planting beans. Farmers are planting corn and soybeans at the same time. They get started with corn, but usually they come along with beans very quickly. There are some areas of the country where they're trying to plant, soybeans first. They got a guy up there in Wisconsin planting them in December. So again, this earlier planning with the idea that the beans can take it better. They're trying to get the beans to bloom set at the longest day to get as much energy as they can to try to up their production. And again, so there is an earlier time frame on beans, and the establishment is recognizing that that colder soil is problematic for the early emergence of the beans. And so they're suggesting that some fertility right with the bean, right in the root area, could be helpful. Again, growers, we would agree with that 100%. We think the type of material you're using, the balance, the purity. We've got experience with in-furrow application on beans since '55. So that's something someone is interested in, our guys can talk about that because we've been doing that for a long time. Another issue that we're looking at Growers Mineral Corp in the research arm is with these biostimulant solutions. Recently, DTN had a publication where the Fertilizer Institute has now taken the biostimulant industry under their wing. And it's kind of interesting is they're saying that they need to do this to make sure that the farmer is getting what he pays for. And there can be some validity to that. Some of this, I believe, is that the fertilizer industry realizes that the biological population factor is getting a lot more attention by producers. With the cover cropping phenomena, no-till, supposedly not removing the environment of the microbes, which will allow them to proliferate better. So they realize that this part of the industry is starting to grow and are probably looking for revenue, if they set regulations on it, like us with fertilizer, we pay a tax to each individual state on how much material we move. When they bring these biostimulants under their arm or under their umbrella, they will be able to implement that type of revenue. At Growers, we've received a lot of information over the last 10 to 15 years or discussions from our customers talking about the biostimulant industry. Probably the one that's getting the most exposure today is Pivot Bio, with the idea that you put this on the seed with corn and you're going to be able to fixate nitrogen out of the atmosphere. It's already 79% nitrogenous gas. But you have all variations of this. We talk a lot about bug in the jug, which is what a lot of these products are. There are other types of stimulants, like solid compost, even compost tea fits into that biostimulant category. But the interest in the growers organization has flourished over the last 15 years, and farmers are looking at different avenues of this biostimulant industry. Some people feel that the bug in the jug, for example, is getting way too expensive. So they're looking at how they can maybe create their own bug in the jug. And this is done through the composting and the compost tea. Another factor is just even guys with manure. They've got farms that are 10 miles away or 20 miles away, and all the manure that far is a difficult or not a very economical process. So they're looking for a way to improve on the distribution of the biological from the manure. And the compost tea looks like a possibility of helping that. And many of the people that we are working with are suggesting that feeding the biological in the compost is a definite possibility. And see, we've said for years and tried to explain to farmers at meetings that that's one of the benefits of growers, using a product that has higher quality, fewer toxins, reducing the heavy metal loads, getting the balance correct. The biological life in the soil or in the rumen is basically a small plant. The bacteria, the fungi, actinomycetes, botanically are plants, and so their reception or their usage of growers' mineral solutions is very good, just like a complex plant. So many of our people have felt that this has been very helpful to their products that they're using. We've always felt that getting the high calcium lime on, aerating the soil also creates a better environment also. So those two things, but the actual feeding of the biological of the growers, we think can be very, very helpful. We've done some preliminary research on that with our research group or research team, and some of the early work that we have shown or have done has been very, very positive. And right now we're looking at a way to try to measure what the result is of feeding that biological activity, whether it be a bug in a jug, whether it be compost tea, even the soil itself. Can we improve that biological population in there? And we have run into a technology that was developed by a scientist that worked in the medical field with the biological population of the immune system, and has been able to develop a way to find these microbes and figure out densities. And so that's really going to be the focus of our research group probably for the next year. And our idea is that we think the reception of growers in like a compost tea, we can multiply that biology. So that if you make X number of gallons, we think we can improve the biomass in there. That is something we want to measure. We want to measure the nutrient concentration. If that changes, it gets in a more available form once the biology starts to work faster. You know, a lot of people are saying you need to put molasses in with some kind of biostimulant or a compost tea or a bug in a jug. And again, we feel that can be helpful. That's the cover crop is bringing sugar into the biological of the soil. But we believe that you need to furnish substantive elements also, building blocks. That we think could be as helpful or more helpful. And some of our preliminary work is demonstrating that. Survival rates from some of our preliminary work is showing that to be true also. That getting growers in there and you dry these microbes out and then re-wet them, the activity is significantly better where the growers' formulation has been added. So this is the type of research work that we're going to pursue, finding this apparatus to actually measure the biomass in the solution. We think this thing is going to be a game changer. This is a relatively new technology that this researcher has been working on, patented it, and has released it. And there are people, they show that they're all over the world basically working with it. And so we think this is something that we can help guys with. You're buying bug in the jug, maybe we can identify how good the bug in the jug is. You're developing your own compost to replace bug in the jug. We might be able to help you with that. And then we think we can demonstrate that the addition of growers with that biological package will improve its activity quite significantly. So that's where we're headed with this thing. And what we'll do is we'll keep you informed, through the conference call. We're going to be doing some initial work with this device measuring the biomass. It's going to take some time. We've got to develop procedures to really see if we can replicate what we think we see right now. So we'll keep you in the loop on that, and then the same thing with the grower solution. As we get more confidence in the things that we see, and that's going to take time. That's not going to happen immediately, but hopefully by sometime this summer going into next fall, we'll be able to talk intelligently about this thing and give you some data that will demonstrate what we're talking about, with the grower's product. We think that's a very critical issue as far as soil is concerned, and this apparatus can be applied to soil also. So if some of you are implementing the program and you're going to compare it to what you've been doing, and you want to see if you're making any progress as far as biological life is concerned, we hopefully can, you send us some soil samples and we can do some work with that and see if we can see anything.
And in my mind, I'm wondering, why don't they think about that?
So at that point, I would say that pretty well covers the current events, Zach. So I'm going to turn it back to you, and you can let Marty and Jim Seiler run from here.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim, and thanks for giving everybody the updates with the different publications and stuff as well. Marty and Jim, can you guys let us know if you're here, please?
There's Marty. I'm in there.
Hey, Marty. Thanks. Jim Seiler, are you there?
Me? I think it just said unmuted, so I guess I'm there.
I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay.
So I've kind of introduced you guys already, but I figure you can do a better job of that. If you want to introduce yourselves, and then it'd be nice to go over kind of the same kind of information you went over and was in the video for the annual meeting. So that's a pretty powerful story, Jim, with what happened with the peaches. But ultimately, the floor is yours, so you guys can cover whatever topics you like.
Well, I'd rather let just Jim start telling us what he saw. Obviously, what we're looking at in that photograph is about the making it through the freeze. So, Jim, you lay it on us. Tell us what you saw.
Well, we started growers a couple of years ago. We didn't really have any frost the first season, so I couldn't judge any of that. But what I judged at just that first season was we were getting what I felt was a little bit better flavor and a little bit of hang time. Of course, you can't really judge that a lot, because your flavor changes every year. Now, the second year, that's when last year, I should say, everything really stepped up. We get in there and, of course, we get into full bloom and, weather's looking nice, and all of a sudden we go through 2 nights of 24 degrees. And whenever I mean 2 nights, I mean at least 6 to 8 hours at 24 degrees. That is 26 should kill them. We were 24, and I basically walked away with a full crop for over 12 hours this year. Had a little bit of damage in some of the low spots, and some of my low spots I went all the way down to 18. And we didn't have much of a crop in those areas, but all of my higher areas, we just had a fantastic crop. All the other orchards around me, except one other, which also uses growers, didn't have a crop. My closest orchard is in Owensboro, Kentucky, and Reed's, we walked that whole orchard and we couldn't find 5 live buds. As I say, we were in the thinning and everything. I mean, we basically had a full crop. And that is anything that I've ever done, that's totally impossible. And I've done this for a while. It's all I've ever done. A couple other things that I did notice, our hang time was so much better. Whenever I talk about hang time, I talk about the fruit got its flavor and held its flavor and also held onto the tree, because basically what we try to do is we try to do most of our sales out our front door or to local groceries, or we basically try to stay local. I do ship quite a few to the Columbus, Indiana area and the Indianapolis area, and we just had a better peach this year. Our color was unbelievable. That was, of course, taste and color, and guess what? You can sell it. And if it holds up good, that's even better. So, you're looking to get return customers. And I just feel like growers has kind of given us the opportunity to really put out we put out a good crop, a good peach anyway, but now I'm just a lot more comfortable with leaving them on the tree a day or two longer and getting more flavor out of them. And as I say, the hold time seems to be incredible, and we stuck a few in the cooler, and Marty even stuck some in his. I think how long did you get out of some of them, Marty, that were picked ripe? Now this is not green. They were picked ripe, and we were getting 10 days to 2 weeks out of them in the cooler.
Yeah, I had mine in the fridge for a month and a half.
Yeah, that's impossible, by the way. But we're doing it.
What did you see with them early peaches, the cling that you call the junk peaches? Did that get you any more money this year?
Well, usually our season in southern Indiana, it'll start most of the time probably around the 5th of June, something like that. And, of course, everything in the peaches are clings. Well, a lot of times you're going to get a lot of split seeds. They're going to split on you. They're going to rot on you. You get that first nice, good thunderstorm that we always get. And right whenever they're getting ripe, and guess what? They split and they rot. Well, we didn't do that this year. We split some, and we did not get the rot that we usually get. I went pretty heavy on growers as far as my sprays. I pretty well kept a gallon to the acre just about every time we went through, every 10 to 14 days. And then on my earlier stuff, I was going a gallon to the acre, and I probably should have been going 2 gallons to the acre, as I understand it, in some of our discussions that we've had, me and Marty, I've had with Marty, in that at that bloom stage, probably ought to be going 2 gallons to the acre, which is definitely what I'm going to do this year.
And
so I was very, very pleased with it. Go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
Fine. Later in the season, then, what has growers saved you money on? What's still sitting in your shed and in your cooler?
I'm sorry, you broke up on me there a minute.
What do you still have sitting in the shed and in the cooler?
Oh, my fertilize. We usually put nitrate down, and Marty talked me into not putting it down in a couple of places. So if anybody needs any nitrate, I've got quite a bit sitting around here that they're more than welcome to come and get, and I'll sell it to them cheap. I'm just using growers now. I've put my last pound of nitrate underneath trees for forever now.
And
health of the trees, I guess, that one thing that I started noticing was just basically the health of the trees. We had some, we had some trees from the nurseries that had some canker in it at the base, and we went in there and kind of went old school a little bit and mixed up some lime, and I put some growers in the lime, and we basically painted the trunks of the trees, and that turned into, looky here, this canker's disappearing on us. So let's start doing a little bit more. So actually, all my new plantings of trees and all that, we went through and did all that and did that to everything, except my oldest trees. I'm pretty impressed with that.
I know we have discussed before that you were talking about the phases and the stages that you see things increasing, and you just recently made a comment that caught my ear, was that, next year's crop is sitting in this year's tree. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, your bud set for peaches for your next year crop actually is developed in June or May and June of the year before, so that you're already starting next year's crop whenever you're picking this year's crop. So I mean, that right there, common sense is going to tell you that you need to be getting the basically the growers on, or fully, having some kind of that they've got to have that strength early. That's why I say I'm seeing things that I didn't see last year I'm 2 years ago that I saw last year, and it's interesting. It's as I say, it's all I've ever done, so I'm noticing a lot of things, and I think I made the statement one time. I don't know how I grew, or how anybody could grow peaches in the Midwest and not use growers after what I experienced last year. Because, I mean, they should have been smoked at 24 degrees. But I believe, the health of the tree and the health of the bud and that buildup is part of the things that make you have a decent crop, and the ability to handle that colder weather. Am I wrong there, or what? I think sure
sounds like
that's just what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. How about those little bitty red things that you find crawling on the leaves?
Oh yeah, the mite thing. We always have trouble with spider mites, red spiders or whatever. They're a pain, and it's a very expensive spray. Well, one thing I started noticing was that after you spray growers, those things have a tendency to disappear on you, and you don't even have to put the miticides on. And let me tell you something, miticides are very expensive.
Give us a dollar figure.
Oh, God. I'd have to look it up. It scares me every time I see it. I don't have all that right here with me, but it's trust me, it's not cheap. It's very expensive. And you put the growers on there. I noticed we had it started having a little bit of a mite outbreak, and I think I got the miticide out, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go through and put an extra round of growers on. So I did. Next day I didn't have any mites.
The trees, you had some trees in those valleys that were partially froze. Like the cold air took them off the bottom half, so you only had 40 peaches or so on the tree. You had some of them they swell up a little too big and split.
Yeah.
And you were saying that
this year.
What would normally happen with those?
Oh, they're going to rot. Automatic. I mean, that's just automatic. They're going to rot. Well, we picked them this year because they didn't rot. I mean, we let them get ripe. They had splits on them, and we sold them for number 2s out our front door. And people like ripe peaches.
How soon would that rot normally show up once they split?
Just whenever they start changing color. I mean, I'm going to say a week before you start picking on them. That all your rots will start showing up.
Okay. How long do these hang after that point?
Oh, well, as I say, we let them get dead ripe before we pick them. So that would be at least 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks. after the coloring started.
Did that split heal itself, or what did it look like after that?
It just basically stayed. I wouldn't say it didn't heal itself. It just didn't get any worse as far as the rot. I guess you could call that it hardened over a little bit. I guess would be a way that I would put that.
What other, you have the similar kind of issue in hot, humid weather with the regular, when you have a regular full load on the tree, does hot, humid weather, is that a factor in that?
As far as rot on your trees?
Or splits?
Oh, yeah, that's always a factor. On regular size, we try to get our trees. We've got a pretty good sized tree, so I'm trying to get about 450 to 350 peaches per tree after we do our thinning on them, and it is a like I say, they will split on you, and we didn't have any trouble with that at all. Zero.
What about the difficulties of getting everything picked and the worry about that? You had commented before that the different varieties that should be staggered out through the growing season, when you start getting hot and humid, they all of a sudden all get ripe at once.
Yeah, you'll have that trouble, and that's what I say, that hang time thing, it can get pretty stressful around here whenever the heat gets going, whenever we've got a lot of fruit to pick. That stress has kind of went out this year because we didn't have to worry about that. It's going to hang for you, and I think that's huge. I mean, whenever you can stretch everything out, it's just, I mean, it's huge.
What length of time do you think you could keep these peaches in cold storage and still sell them out your front door?
I really can't answer that question because we didn't. The most I ever kept anything this year was 2 days. There's some of us. I mean, we stuck it. Well, you did the same thing. I stuck a couple boxes in the cooler just to see how long they'd last, and it was, and basically forgot about them, and then walked back in a week or two later, and they were still there, and they still had good taste to them. So I don't, as far as your shelf life thing, I just, it's good. It's really good.
What are you thinking on the new trees now that you're bringing in? I know you commented about the quality of those trees coming out of the greenhouse. What do you mean by the quality not being good?
Nurseries, what we're getting from nurseries anymore over the last, I'm going to say 10 years, is not good. We are not getting, well, like I say, we're getting canker. We're getting trees that have been, I guess they're just not good quality stuff. And we've lost several plantings just because of terrible nursery quality. And it's just not me, it's everybody around. So basically what, we've got to step up, and as soon as we get this stuff, we've got to get it taken care of. And that's where I'm hoping the growers is going to step up and look good on that. And our last planting that we had last year, it looks like it's working for that. Okay. Now, if only growers could keep deer away from them, I'd be a lot happier.
Yeah. Now, you had one other thing that you had commented on about a couple of cherry trees that you have, about splits that normally show up. What did you see on that?
We just got sweet cherries. We did not have the splits on them this year. We're back to that hang time. I know there's sweet cherries are really hard to grow in our area, because we have a lot of humidity, and we just split something fierce. But it's such a good. They're really outstanding. So, we've got about 5 or 6 sweet cherry trees that basically some years we pick some off of them. Most years they're just all split up. And I hit them pretty hard with growers this year, and we picked a lot of sweet cherries this year in rainy, humid weather.
That you would have expected them to split in that kind of weather?
I would have expected them to be split and rotten and falling on the ground.
In your comment about the quality of the trees, that's the tree itself and not necessarily the fruit, what improvements are you seeing in the trees themselves?
I am definitely seeing what I would call a more colorful leaf, as far as they just look healthier. We're getting a lot deeper greens out of our leaves. We've had few of the leaf diseases that we're working on getting rid of them, and you've got to have a good leaf surface to put out a good fruit, and it shows. I mean, that's all you can say.
You had a few trees there across the road those were just coming in production this year. Is that right? Was this the first year on those? No, early spring.
Yeah, I gave up on them, and you told me to hit them with a couple of extra pounds of growers and a little bit more lime, and so I did a couple of soak down sprays on them and put some extra lime around them, and it was in a wet spot. And I basically peaches do not like wet feet at all, and I just really had, I think it's 4 trees. I just kind of written them off, and so I went out there and did that, and they look pretty good right now. At the end of the year, they were really nice and healthy, and actually you could notice it by the times you came by and went over there and checked them about 2 or 3 weeks in spans, and they just kept on looking better, didn't they?
Yeah, it's more noticeable for somebody that's not around them every day to come back at a later time and say, hey, that's changed a lot. But when you're there every day, it gradually comes to notice.
Yeah.
I want to have you say again what you had said to me about the stages and the levels that things progress. And your mention of that fruit being on the tree for next year already. What are you thinking is going to be going on in the next couple of years?
As far as
what will the improvements be, do you think? What are you looking for? Let's put it that way. What are you thinking at this point you're going to see?
I am hoping to see, especially on my little trees, a better quality of leaf surface and better growth out of them, which I think we saw that this year with the way the season was. I'm really excited to get trees planted. And we planted right at 1,000 trees last year, and we'll plant another 1,000 this year. And I'm really excited to see what having trees and starting them on growers to the point where they're ready for, 3 or 4 years down the line where you're going to get a crop on them, how much more health our trees are going to be. Because, I don't have to sit here and tell you, a healthier tree, you're going to get a better peach. So that's what's really got me pumped on doing this, because, just what I saw from last year to this year off of our older trees, the progression that we're getting in the health of the trees it's nice. It's real nice.
Hey, Marty.
I kind of read. Yeah.
Jim Hall Bison. I got a couple questions I want to ask Jim, if I can interject.
Go for it.
Hey, Jim, I want you to tell me this spring, when you figure out that you may have a frost event, what's going to be your protocol at that point?
2 gallon of growers per acre. That's what it's going to be. Hopefully a day or two before that. I'll put it on. Okay. I'll try to get it on a day or two before that. Last crop, it would have been 3 days before that frost hit us that I had a gallon per acre on.
Mm-hmm.
How many gallon had you put on completely up to that point, would you say? Starting with your crop oil and those? Yeah.
I was probably at, I would have been at, I had 3 sprays on, so I'd have been right at 3 gallons. Not quite that, because I was going about a half rate. So I'd have been closer to, probably closer to 2.
So basically, you were at 2 gallon on the trees, and then when the frost event was coming in, you came back with another 2 ahead of the frost event.
No, that's what I'm going to do this year.
I got you. Okay. And you like to be a couple days ahead of the frost if you can?
Yes.
What I was interested in, Marty. Thank you.
Okay.
Definitely, that's what I'll try. Yeah.
How soon?
If you have a second event, will you come back with another 2? Is that a possibility of having 2 frost events in one spring?
Unfortunately, Mother Nature makes that decision for us. There's a good question to ask you. What do you think? I would ask you that question.
Yeah, I think the big issue is how much you have on at that time. In other words, let's say you've got you did a couple 1 gallon sprays, and then the frost event arrives, and you put 2 on, and you've got 4 in it. And say you come back with another gallon, and then you get another frost event. I just think getting the 2 in there is a real insurance policy. I think that's the way guys need to look at that. At that point, you might be able to get away with 1. You might be able to get away with none. But for what your possibilities of productivity and the extra quality that you'll get from it, I think it's just an excellent insurance policy for you because, if you're the only game in town, as you figured out this year, that just that you can't put a price on that, really.
Yeah, that really pissed me off that I was the only one that had vocal peaches. Dang, that made me mad.
We love it.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask a dumb question. I was wondering if growers made you any money this year.
Yeah, I think I just answered that question, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so. So with that being said, if you have a second frost event like we're talking there, and you have the possibility of being the only show in town, it would be kind of silly not to put it on.
Yeah, 2 gallon are going on. I hate to tell you all this.
It's not going to be wasted, that's for sure.
You damn betcha. Yeah.
So I don't have anything else on my agenda, so if you want to open her up for other questions, if anybody's out there.
Yeah, if you got any, Jim, if there's any other comments you'd like to make about, guys that are looking at it for the first time or anything you would encourage. But if not, that's we appreciate it. Fine job.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Thanks, Jim. If any of you guys do have questions, anybody listening in, it's *6 to unmute yourself. All right, we'll wrap up the call then. Again, thank you guys. That was a great call. The next conference call, as Jim said, we're going to be taking a break over the summer months, but we'll be going for the next 3. So the next conference call will be on February 11th, centered around the picture in the calendar for that month. So thank you, everybody, for listening in. Jim, is there anything else you'd like to say before we go? Jim Hallbeisen, that
Probably is. With us walking away from the summer months, we'll probably pick up some pictures out of the summer months, too. And that'll be based on, how some of those calendars, who's available at a certain time. So the next 3 months are all research pictures, and then May, June, and July are customer pictures. So we will be picking some of those customer pictures in the next 3 months also, and that'll be pending on what works for each customer. So you'll have your calendar with you, and we'll try to cover that at the same time we cover the research picture also.
That's right. Good. Thanks, Jim. All right. Everybody, have a good night. Thank you for listening in, and we'll hear from you in a month. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.